Salutations! My name's Kartosael and welcome to another episode of Thaumic Craft. So in the beginning of the server I turned one of these Burrow hills, we call them, into a mob grinder for experience or items. And I have been asked, hey, how did you actually do that? So that is why I'm recording this episode, to show you how I did it. Now, when building one of these, there are several considerations that you have to keep in mind. And as you can see, we have two actual spawner blocks here and a sinister node. Now it doesn't say it's sinister, but trust me it is. I do not have my thermometer on me. And the very first consideration you have to think about is, do I want to use the sinister node in this grinder? You can just use these two, although this one does spawn angry zombies, or furious one. I keep forgetting which one of those two. Anyways, it does spawn extra zombies that have a higher drop chance of brains if you need those. So why would you not want to use this sinister node? Well, it makes this construction a whole lot easier, because these guys have twice the amount of health of a normal zombie, roughly. So that makes this entire spawner grinder so much more difficult to build. But in my personal opinion, it is quite worth it. So I'm going to assume that you are going to use this. If not, it's a lot easier. So that's why I'm doing it that way. And if you really don't want to use it, you can either jar this node or destroy it altogether, whichever has your fancy. And the very first thing you must make sure of is that each spawner, so that's these two blocks, and if you use it, that node, has a 9 by 9 by 3, actually by 4 space centered on this block. So 4 that way, 4 that way, 4 that way, 4 that way, 2 upwards and 1 downwards. Now why is it 2 upwards and 1 downwards? Well, it can spawn mobs on these 3 Z coordinates. However, if it spawns over here, it will have to take 2 places, because, you know, skeletons and zombies take 2 spots. So that's why you have to go 2 upwards in the Z direction. So I will dig that out and be right back. Here we are. Each spawner now has the designated space, but as you can see, oh dear, this is the space that's required for the node, and it intersects quite severely the spawning radius of the other ones, because if you were to draw this line, I'm so good at drawing lines. This one, this is the area for this spawner, and the same goes for the other one. And you can see that this whole blotch is actually intersecting. Let's actually make that visible. Let's use that one. So the smooth stone part is where the two intersect, and this is where you will have to make another choice. As I mentioned, the zombies spawned by this node have more health, which makes it down the line a bit annoying to take care of them. However, they have the exact same collision box as any normal zombie. So they both take 2 blocks. There is no way to sort them after they have come together. So if you put all these 3 mobs together, you cannot extract those zombies, because they behave as normal zombies. They only have more health and deal more damage and have different drops. Skeletons and zombies you might be able to separate if you would want to, you know, with villagers and whatnot. Not that that's the point of this grinder, but you could. These guys you cannot sort from the normal zombies. They're just, you can't. So if you do want to, oh dear, it's on a night. Which brings me to another point. This thing, you can just attach an arcane lamp to a node, apparently, because arcane lamps need to be attached to something. And I do suggest, especially if you're on a server, to have an arcane lamp present at your build site. It decreases the amount of torches you need to place down every time. So back to the sorting problem. If you could just say, no, forget about it. I will merge the two streams of zombies. Consequences be damned. You could do that. Actually, that's how I did the first Burrow Hills grinder. It works, but you would need some tool to damage the zombies even further. Because we eventually will make a crusher that will bring these mobs down to 1 health. Which allows you to 1-hit most skeletons, 1 to 2-hit most zombies because they have natural armor. But these guys, you'll have to do a lot of damage to, which I'm fine with. I mean, I've got like a sword, void sword, sharpness 5, so I'm fine. Void swords repair themselves. So no problem there. However, if you want to separate them, which you could, you would have to separate them at this stage. However, if you would do that, then you would need to make a catchem, like so, that these zombies move away from these guys. But as you can see, that's quite a overlap with this spawner. You effectively remove, well, it doesn't matter if that guy's up there because it doesn't allow him to spawn here. Actually, it does matter. This row matters because now they do have the ability to spawn there. If I put a row, they will not. So instead of 3 places, they can spawn in this row. Only 2 places. In these rows, only 1 place. So you are taking quite a big chunk out of the spawning. Advantage is you will be able to separate them. Now I am, probably just for the fun of it, going to try to separate them. Or maybe not. Let me think about that for a while. I have decided to split the zombie streams because it is the most complicated of the 2 cases. That means that if you do not want to split them, which really is so much more easy to do, you just have to do a lot of steps less, which I will explain when those steps arrive. So actually I need this wall. Don't really need that separating wall, to be honest. But I will need this. So the next step, we now have an area for each mob to spawn in. Not ideal, that much is true, but every spawner now has an area. Now technically, this area I carved out is 9 by 9, 9 by 4 by 9. The spawning algorithm actually checks an 8 by 3 by 8. The 3 I already said, there's 3 spots, 1 below, 1 on and 1 above, but they are centered on this block. Now what does that actually mean? That although it is 8, you could say, you need an 8 by 8 because the radius is 8. Diameter, sorry, I keep messing those two up. The diameter is 8. So it would be like 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. You don't need that one. Well, that's not entirely true. That's if you were to assume that they actually start counting here. But they start counting at the middle of the block. So it's 1, 2, 3, 4 to the half. And half here. So you actually have a... half of this block is not needed. So if you could put a vertical stair here, or vertical slabs, then that would define the actual area of spawning. So that's why I did a 9 by 9. However, there are more spawning conditions than just space. Of course, there's light level. We are very much aware of that. But it also checks in a certain area if the amount of mobs is not too high. For example, you do not really want to run into a dungeon to face 100 skeletons in that small cubicle. At least I don't. And luckily, game approved of that idea. So what they did is said, you know, let's test if there are not too many mobs. So it will check in a 9 by 9 by 9 area if there are any mobs nearby of the same kind as the spawner. So the skeleton spawner will check in a 9 by 9 by 9 if there are no more than 6. If there are, it will not spawn mobs. If there aren't, it will. Now, that means that it's also centered on this block. The previous the spawning area is 8 by 3 by 8, and this is 9 by 9 by 9. So it's actually this border that it checks. Well, it's not going to find any mobs within the border, but it's also 4.5 blocks up and 4.5 blocks down, which basically means 4 blocks up, 4 blocks down. So ideally, for maximum spawning, you want these mobs out of that range as quick as possible. Now for these two, that's really simple. You just dig down until the mobs cannot reach it. Till the mobs that drop down are out of range. Now if you dig down 4, let's just say you do that. This is 1, 2, 3, 4. Now here, if I were a skeleton, it sees me, because I'm well within the 9 by 9. Now if you dig one down more, my head is still inside that area, so it still sees me. Dig down one more and it does not see me anymore. However, we are going to use water streams to move these guys. And in the water streams, what do mobs do? They jump continuously, which means they are going to be either 1 or 2 blocks higher still. So it's safest to dig 2 blocks down. It's a bit more work, yes, but trust me, it is worth it. So that means you have to dig 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 blocks down. It's a lot of digging, but that will allow you to get the maximum amount of spawning. Now, if you were to just combine these 2 streams of zombies, you would just dig that one down 8 blocks as well. However, that's not really available to us right now. So how I'm going to solve that, I will show you after I actually dig down here. So we get that out of the way. I have dug down and actually added the water streams. So if I forgot that I did not have that equipped. Luckily there was water at the bottom. Yeah, I did that once, jumped off a cliff. Midair I thought, you know, I don't have my harness equipped, and I fell to my death. Pretty embarrassing, but not this time. So if they spawn here, they just drop into this water stream. Now the water stream is only 8, it's going to reach 8 blocks, but the spawning area is 9. So you have this 3 white gap in between. And as you can see, I made another water stream that forces the mobs to, well, if you look at it from this side to the left. And there are signs there so that they can fall through into this water stream. And this water stream will eventually push them away so that they are completely out of range and we can transport them to the top. Same I did over here. The advantage of these nodes as spawners is that mobs can go straight through. So even if they spawn there, they can just swim through. If this was a solid block spawner like the other two, they would get stuck right here. So we need to go down one deeper. In this case, we don't have to. If they spawn here, they go down here. And as you can see, this is not centered. This is to the right. And this one was to the left. So we have our 2 separate streams running on the ground, parallel. So So right behind this wall is actually the other stream. And we can eventually... That's just a connection I use between the two. But we really don't want that. So there are several ways you can transport mobs upstairs. Of course there is the classical vanilla water ladder, but come on, we are in Thaumcraft. So we are going to use arcane levitators. These will elevate any entity quite rapidly, as you can see. I think 2 will be enough. Actually, we might need the 3rd one. Because that's only just going to cut it, and I do not like only just. Good thing I made extra, especially for that case. Yeah. Although there's little as annoying as replacing these guys. Oh dear, that was not deep enough. We need to go one deeper. Yeah, it really doesn't like me if I keep shifting on that. Don't need signs at the moment, but whatever. We can replace these. And now we know for sure that we have more than enough area. And stupid snowballs. The downside of working in a snow biome, all those bloody snowballs. So let's actually start by topping off this guy. Actually, you can do that off camera. The reason I do that is to make sure that the spawning area is turned off. No, not turned off. Exact opposite. Need to go one higher, but I'll continue that off camera. That's not very interesting to see. So I'll do that and start working on a little collection area. These 2 torches are the places where the arcane levitators were before, shelves down, but I moved it backwards a bit because I needed more space. This is going to be the main room of the grinder where you will be. And if I were to create the hauling device here, you would have a little bit of room. And I like my buildings to be roomy. So you could do it closer. But remember that you should never be more than 16 blocks away from the spawners. Now this is not a 8 by 8 cube, or 8 by 8 by 8, that kind of 16, or 16 by 16 by 16. No, it's a radial. So the distance here is smaller than the distance here, because we also have a so we are higher up. So you have to be very careful with that distance. And I have too much stuff on me. So those are the 2 streams. That is as high as the levitators can go. Of course, we do not need all that space, but it's useful to know. So they can come in here, they go over here. We want to get them into these holding cells. Like so. A bit, I think. Yeah. So let's get these guys over here. These signs. And signs down there. Because we need them to be pushed towards us. There we go. That should go. I've been using these boots for so long and I still miscalculate the jump sometimes. So if they come up here, they will be caught by the water stream and pushed in here. And this fall may not be too high, because if it is, they will hurt themselves, and the next step, which is bringing them down, bringing their health down to a level you can punch them, will not work. I'm just going to replace these with glass because I want to. There's no other reason for it. Like so. Now, if we just do it like this, we are going to have a problem, because enemies are in here. Of course, it's going to be a bit like that, so they can't get out, but we can kill them. If they are in here and they are damaged, we do not want them to mix with the enemies that are not yet damaged. So what we do is we change up you, I guess. Put you over there. And we need, okay, we need at least 4, I think, roughly. Sticky pistons. I find placing pistons to be such a pain. There we go. Put you there. Now if we were to put a redstone signal into this, we've effectively closed off the flow of enemies. Now why am I using a glass block and not just any ordinary block? Because if there's a mob falling through while we do this, the glass block will not damage him and any other solid block will. So that's why we have that over there. Of course the same will be done on this side. And we need an actual mechanism to kill them with. Now let's take a look at that. That might be a bit precarious. Could try and do this block. The downside is, of course, that we will have fickle pistons to deal with. Like that. Yeah, you don't want them to both trigger at once per se. So, how much space do I have over here? None. This is... yeah, I need to bring it out this way. So I'll do that off camera. Aha, another attempt. Drew them out quite a bit. So yeah, if I would have placed the exits over there, we wouldn't have enough space. So we now have the option to lock them down and crush their little heads. Because while they're in here, and no, that was not the one I wanted. In here, let's just say it's completely locked off for right now. They will now get damaged because their head's in a solid block. And now they won't, but new ones won't be able to reach them. Now, of course, using levers isn't a very good idea. And technically, I didn't need to pull them out this much, but just make sure that you have enough room that you are comfortable with to work with. And that was one of the stupidest sentences I have tried to make today. Because it failed, mainly. So we would like to automate it with, let's just say, we need 2 buttons, basically. Buttons preferably, instead of levers. Just temporary place for them. We need... oh, that wasn't very useful. Now I have no idea where they are. The reason I am using these blocks here, these stone blocks, stone brick blocks, is because it will allow me to know exactly where I put the pistons and which block is actually going to move. So I'm doing the same here, knowing where the buttons are. Somewhat. I'm going to change the way it looks anyway. So this one is going to be for the normal mobs. And this one is going to be for the furious zombies, I believe. So these guys have the most health, and these do not. These just have 20 health, these I believe 40. Don't pin me down on that. So I'm going to put in a redstone mechanism, because doing that on camera will be a pain, and explain it to you after that. Alright, it's a bit later. I've done the redstone, done some adjustments as you can see. These have become stairs, make it a lot easier to reach The hungry chests I have now placed right there, so that any item they drop goes into the hungry chest. Not a hopper, because hungry chests drain items much faster than hoppers do. Hoppers only take one item at a time, and I think hungry chests can go up to a stack. I used these fences instead of the slabs because experience orbs actually got stuck behind the slabs for some reason and not behind the fences. So there is that, and I installed the redstone. So I changed this out to a lever instead of a button, because this is just a toggle for, you know, on, off, and because it's glass of the same color that I'm using here, I put a lamp behind it so I could easily see whenever you know, they are extended or they are retracted. Now this is just as easy as having a redstone wire going over top these things, these pistons. So that's pretty easy. And we have the button. So let's remove, we're not going to do that with a shovel. Remove this lamp, so we can actually see what's going on. We do have a sword here. And you can already kind of hear them growl and splash a bit. And there they come. Well, at least the first guy. So I will probably leave the lamp out once it's done, because whenever I am here I am sure to want to grind some mobs, so I don't really need to turn it off. Let's turn you guys down a bit. I'm actually waiting for a furious zombie. They do have to travel a much longer path than these guys, because first they are of course transported this way and then they have to go that way back again. It's also possible that they somehow didn't spawn, but that's unlikely. They're appearing more likely at the moment. And by the way, if you're wondering why I put those trapdoors up there, this prevents them from jumping in the water stream, which makes sure they do not receive any fall damage when going down the tube. And I'm going to inspect what's up with this, because it should spawn. It should give us mobs. There's a bit of light over here, but that should not influence it in any way. There is light in here though. A lot of it. Well, yeah, because I put that lamp back. I guess I just didn't spawn. Maybe the lights just didn't go yet. I don't know. I'll be back when they actually get in here. Not quite sure why there are only so few of the furious zombies. Probably just a random thing. There's another one. But still. That's the third compared to the entire troop that's over there. So, I don't know what your problem is. So when trying to kill them, you flip the lever, because if the mob stream is continuous, they will not drop in on the already damaged mobs. And we push this button, and these two solid blocks will extend, crushing them, bringing them down to 1 health. Now these guys have 20 health, just like players do. These guys have 57 or 58. I'm actually not quite 100% sure anymore which one of those two it was. So they need to be crushed a whole bunch longer. Even then, I advise using a sword of some description, because zombies have natural armor, which means you need to punch them twice. And normal mobs, well, you see they're already spawning with armor, and some of them actually turn out to be champion mobs, which is nice because that means they can drop loot bags, but that does make them incredibly more difficult to kill. So I do advise a weapon of sorts. And you see how quickly this thing just nommed everything that was there. Do not really enjoy the bows. So how does this button system work? Well, we have just a redstone coming out of the button. These two repeaters are solely for elongating the signal, so is that repeater. And these redstone lines go up to the crushers. This goes to the normal mob crusher, and this goes to the furious zombie crusher. And then you get all this system. It takes a lot of repeaters. So this is a T-flop or a memory cell, depends on how you call it. If you power it over this way, this torch turns on. This is when we press the button. And the signal goes on over there. And it stays on until it gets a signal from this. It really needs to go in here. So, for example, if I had it like that, you already hear that doesn't work. It needs to be like that. And now the thing flipped, which is actually kind of funny because you saw how it works. Huh. So as soon as the signal comes over here, this turns on, extending the crusher. It then waits a while, quite a while, and turns it back off again. Now these are 25 repeaters. 24 of them are set to 4 delay, and one is set to a 1 delay. When suffocating, they take damage every 10 game ticks, and a redstone tick requires 2 game ticks, so that accounts to 5 redstone ticks, which means 1 1/4 repeater. So repeater set to 4 and repeater set to 1. Or any combination that makes up 5. So that's how you can calculate this. If you are going to build this yourself, you might want to fiddle around with it a little bit more, add 1, remove 1, to see what works ideally. Because I may or may not have optimized it. Now, you could make an entire new system for this one, but it just takes longer to kill him. So that's why I took the signal over here and extended it even further. This, in total, including that part, takes 72 repeaters. All of them set to 4 delay. So that's quite a delay indeed. So this one does not count for that 72. So that's actually just how these grinders work. And of course you can do fancy things with this to make it a start button, a reset button, or whatever system you prefer. And of course you can, attach columns to this chest to make them sort out automatically, or even hopper them to a single chest and then sort them out. You can do, but this is the basic system to make it work. So that's how I made the Burrow grinder. And of course afterwards, at this stage you can give it a nice shell, so it looks, not like a horrible piece of stone. That actually took 3 hits, so I might need an extra repeater. For example, some optimization is required, though with this sword, I'll be fine. If you do have any questions, if things are not clear enough, which is entirely possible, you can of course ask them in the comments and I will answer to the best of my capabilities. Thank you all very much for watching, and I do hope to see you again in the next episode.